There's an expression in Magic the Gathering where if you believe a card should be banned, you should be playing it, and that's exactly what we're doing today. We're playing Entomb in the Epic Storm. Let's go check it out. In front of you is the Epic Storm list that we will be playing today. I'm super thrilled to be doing so, but I would like to discuss how we even got here. So a couple weeks ago, I sort of decided that Leyline of the Void is not particularly good against Dimir Reanimator because they have Brazen Borrowers, 2 to 3 of them in the main deck. But also, they're just so good at playing a fair game with Tamiyo Inquisitive Student or attacking you with Orcish Bowmasters, and the Leylines never feel particularly good in that matchup. That said, they're the best card versus Oops All spells, so you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place where you want the best card versus Oops All spells, but then it's not that effective versus Dimir Reanimator, and I decided that I was going to try to solve it. And I eventually sort of got frustrated. I was like, well, what if we started playing Force of Will again? Because Force of Will is good against Oops All spells, but then you could board in Force of Will versus non-blue decks in Prison. And that plan worked out okay enough. I mean, I went 4-1 in 3 leagues with it. Like, it was fine. But if I'm being honest with you, it never felt quite right. And in order to support Force of Will, I had to play Ponder in the main deck. So I was playing Ponders and Brainstorms, and the math just wasn't really there. Like, you're only 34% to have Force of Will plus a blue card in your opening hand when you're only playing 16 blue cards. Or it goes up to like 36% if you board in 2 Chain of Vapor to support the blue cards as well. So why would I want to play something if it's sub 40%? Because 40% is the golden standard for Force of Will. And I decided, well, I don't like this idea anymore. So I went back to the drawing board and I tried a bunch of sideboard Fairy Macabres, and Fairy Macabre was okay, but I don't think I wanted 4 like I was playing, or even 3. So uh, then it was floated that, well, what if we played white? And you could play 7 silence effects in your main deck between Orm's Chant and Silence itself, and then you get Static Prisons in the board. I played white for 1 league. Ultimately, I didn't feel like it was fixing any of the problems, but then we decided, well, what about a 5-color league? I didn't end up playing it, but we did mock up the deck list, and ultimately, I just don't think white solves anything in the current list of the Epic Storm. So it got me thinking about how the format is really fast right now. And when you look at, MTG Goldfish or any of those other sites, the top decks are all very quick. Like Dimir Reanimator is a tempo deck, but it has a turn 2 combo with Entomb Reanimate. Oops All Spells is obviously very fast. Moonstompy's fast. All of these decks are blazing fast. And I was like, well, if the format's so fast, and that's one of the issues I had playing with Ponder, why am I playing Brainstorm? Because Brainstorm is a card where it's inherently best when the format's slow, because you would like to combine Brainstorm with fetch lands and surveillance to really get the most value out of it. Well, if the format is so fast, Brainstorm should probably not be in the deck. So what if we cut Brainstorm and then played the broken card? What if we just played Entomb? And that's sort of how we ended up on this deck list here today. And if you're unfamiliar, Entomb is a 1 black mana instant where you search your library for any card and put it to the graveyard. Not just creature, any card. So you could search out, I don't know, a Verdant Catacombs, but more realistically, you'll search out Echo of Aeons, or even the Runehorn Hellkite, which I'm super thrilled to be playing for you today. So I haven't played with this card yet. It was sort of a late night idea that I had, and I don't want to be like, oh, I found this card. That's not true at all. But we were arguing about whether or not you wanted the 4th Thoughtseize in the main deck or the 4th Echo of Aeons. Because sometimes when you're gambling and entombing a bunch, you run out of echoes. And while we really wanted the 4th Echo of Aeons in the main deck, but then you don't have one in the sideboard for Burning Wish. And we didn't love that. And then also, like, there's some matchups where you don't want 8 protection spells. So I was thinking to myself, well, Runehorn Hellkite is a nice compromise because it is the 4th Echo of Aeons, and it's uncounterable because it's an activated ability. So against blue decks, you can gamble or entomb or the Runehorn Hellkite, and they can't counterspell it. They could stifle it. They can't consign to memory it because it's not a trigger. It's just an activated ability. And I think that's really nice, where if your opponents just have a hand full of counter magic, you just make them discard that hand and draw a fresh 7. So this card's pretty powerful, and I like that idea. And I'm not the first person ever to play Runehorn Hellkite. Magic Online user Kill a Bee, but also Tony Scaponi both play it in their deck sometimes. They're gamble enthusiasts. And here, we're playing Gamble alongside Entomb. So we actually have 8 of those effects. So why wouldn't we play at least one copy of the Runehorn Hellkite? Moving on to the sideboard, we do have Chain of Vapor and Void Snare. So one thing I found playing the blue list was I really liked Chain of Vapor again. Because the format's so fast, I liked having 1 mana interaction to answer what our opponents were doing, just because if they play a first turn Grafdigger's Cage or Leyline of the Void, I wanted to be able to answer those effects very quickly. So I ended up liking these quite a bit, but I missed the Boseiju. So when I was playing the Ponderless, Boseiju didn't have room due to Force of Will taking up 4 slots. Well, when you have more slots to work with, because we're not playing 4 Force of Will, Boseiju comes back. And most of the time it ends up coming in over a copy of Mox Opal, and it's really just for those blue matchups. But I liked the idea of playing this again. And then Shenanigans, another card that you could search out with Gamble or Entomb to blow up Grafdigger's Cage. So against blue decks, you're most likely bringing in the Shenanigans and the Boseiju, boarding out 1 Chrome Mox and 1 Mox Opal. Shenanigans also destroys Null Rod. So Null Rod, Grafdigger's Cage, and it has Dredge, which means that you can come back turn after turn after turn to destroy those pesky artifacts, which is quite nice. So those are the sideboard changes in the Epic Storm, and that's my deck tech. A little long-winded today, but I wanted to share my thought process and my path to getting to this deck list. I played this list in 3 leagues yesterday. I watched Alex McKinley play it in 2. There was a lot of 4-1s. I went 3-2 once. The deck is good. I will say that. It's very, very fast. Like, I think on speed, it's pretty close to Oops All Spells. I don't have any data to prove it, but this deck might just be as fast as Oops All Spells now, while having 7 protection spells and an uncounterable wheel. So we sped the deck up quite a bit. We have some interaction for Reanimator with the Fairy Macabre, so hopefully we do well today, and maybe we'll get our first 5-0. I hope so. Thanks for watching this extended deck tech. I will see you in the first match. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to match number 1. We are on the play. We're facing someone who has a lot of results with Cradle Control. Alright, so we have the Runehorn Hellkite in our hand. I would love to keep it because of that, but this hand just doesn't play Magic. We're going to send it back. Okay, well this hand does play Magic. We will keep, and we'll get rid of the Beseech Dimir. So you might be saying, if our opponent plays a bunch of, Cradle Control, why are we keeping the Thoughtseize? Well, what if they're not playing Cradle Control, right? Like, what if they're choosing to play something else today? I want the ability to Thoughtseize on the first turn and make sure that I'm able to do my thing. So we'll play Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, and our opponent just concedes the game. Love it. Love it. Okay, so they're on Cradle Control, or so I assume. I will bring in the bounce spells, bring in the Boseiju, and now we have one more open slot. I kind of like bringing in the Empty the Warrens. So it doesn't use the graveyard. They're not a deck that's really good at answering creatures going wide, and it doesn't lose to Force of Vigor. So they're an Endurance Force of Vigor deck, and Empty the Warrens sort of threads the needle. So I like that. And then we'll board out Veil of Summers and try this out. On the draw for game number 2. I think we'll keep this. I don't have red mana for the Burning Wish, but they're a deck that's probably going to have a first turn Thoughtseize or something like that. And now they're taking a mulligan to 5. I mean, they mulligan to 5 in game 1 too. I guess they could be Oops All Spells. And they play a first turn Once Upon a Time. They find a Clarion Conqueror. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do have the Void Snare, but I don't have blue mana at the moment. They name Dragon. Removes Elvish Spirit Guide, Elvish Spirit Guide. First turn Clarion Conqueror. So I need to find my fetch land. Well, there's my red mana. We'll play the Underground Mortuary looking for a fetch land. Oh, or I could just find the Singleton Underground Sea. I love that. Pass the turn. They have 1 card left in their hand. Ancient Tomb. Another Clarion Conqueror. Wow. Okay. So we can actually empty using the sideboard empty. So I'm trying to think through this right now. I could go Badlands, Dark Ritual, Chrome Mox. That's Beseech, empty. And that would be 12 goblins? I mean, that's pretty good. So Underground Mortuary plus 5 black. Badlands is 6. Yeah, this works. We'll play the Badlands. Dark Ritual, Dark Ritual. Tap the Badlands. We'll play the Burning Wish. I'll say yes. And now we select the Beseech Dimir. We'll play the Chrome Mox. Very fortunate that I sideboarded in the Empty the Warrens here. I'll say no. And then Beseech Dimir, bargain the Chrome Mox. And we'll put 12 goblins on the table. Empty these Warrens. Hiya. That's pretty sweet. I love that. Pass the turn. We even have the Void Snare to bounce one of their creatures on our turn. And our opponent just straight up concedes the match. Nice Null Rod creatures. Really. We're 1-0 to start off this Legacy League. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. For round number 2, we're on the draw, and we've opened up an unplayable hand. We'll send this one back. Our opponent's Goldfish history is just nothing but blue decks. Reanimator, Cephalid Breakfast, Sultai Scam, Death Shadow. So we could assume that they're playing blue here today. And this hand is fine. We'll keep this. Get rid of the Song of Creation. And we're a couple mana away from a protected Echo of Aeon, so I think we want to keep this. They play first turn Hedge Maze, so not Reanimator. Could be Cephalid Breakfast. Gamble. We'll play the Underground Mortuary. Lion's Eye Diamond. That's perfect. Keep that on top. And now they play a Misty Rainforest. The Molt Tender. Someone actually played this against me the other day, so we're facing Blue Zenith. Or at least that's what the person the other day was playing. I played a lot of Magic this weekend, like more than I've played in months, just because I decided that I wanted to try to, instead of just complain, try to fix the problem. And we'll see if that works today. Who knows? We'll try a Veil of Summer. That resolved. I'll now play Lion's Eye Diamond and Entomb. So we're going to be able to Echo of Aeons here with a bunch of mana floating. So I could grab a Runehorn Hellkite, but why would I do that? Because, like, Echo of Aeons is just cheaper here. So as much as I would love to Runehorn Hellkite somebody, I don't think it's the right move. Storm is 7. Lotus Petal would be 8. Lion's Eye Diamond would be 9. Tendrils of Agony is 10. And I can even check here with the Thoughtseize. Play the Thoughtseize. Take the Swords to Plowshares. We'll play Bloodstained Mire. Fetch. Grab a Taiga. We'll Veil of Summer again just for Storm count, because I can. And Tendrils of Agony. So it's funny there is our opponent could have played Endurance and then Swordsed it in order to effectively gain 2 life after their Misty Rainforest fetch. So that could be a situation where if you're not disciplined, you could have lost that game. Like if you had just counted to 10, played your Tendrils, this could have been a game loss. So always do the little things, I guess, is my point here. I understand I'm a little bit preachy, but I'd rather be preachy and not lose than, the alternative. Our opponent is getting a little upset in the chat, but I don't know. You're playing a deck with Endurance and Force of Will. Like, you have decisions to be made. We'll bring in the Chain of Vapor and the Void Snare. This deck is a Green Sun Zenith for Collector Oof strategy. We'll board out one of each Mox. And let's try this. Game number 2, we've opened up a protected Echo of Aeons on the first turn. I will keep. They play a basic Forest and the Molt Tender, sure. And we draw Echo, even better. Alright, so I'll grab a Taiga, and we'll play Veil of Summer. That resolved, I'll play Lotus Petal, Mox Opal, Lion's Eye Diamond. So I could gamble for another diamond here. My concern is if I discard the diamond or the echo, I don't know if I would play out the diamond, because if I discard echo and then play diamond, endurance or fairy macabre or something else stops me. So I think the right thing to do here is just float a mana and then cast echo. So we'll spin. Firm is 5, 2 available mana. And this is a win. So we'll play Chrome Mox, imprint the Entomb, play Chrome Mox, no imprint, Lion's Eye Diamond, and now we'll sacrifice Lotus Petal for a red, hold control, play the Burning Wish, add 3 black. Alright, the opponent's probably pretty upset about this if they were upset about game number 1. Yeah. And then we'll grab Beseech the Mirror. It just gives me an extra storm here. So if for some reason they have Solitude or something, I don't lose. We'll grab another Beseech the Mirror. Exile, or sacrifice the Opal, I should say. Beseech the Mirror. Bargain the Chrome Mox. I mean, I doubt they have Solitude in their deck, but this is a pretty free thing to do here. And now we'll play Tendrils of Agony. Storm 13. That is how we do. I'll let you. The opponent is clicking through all of them. And we win the match. That was an exciting one. Alright, this deck is very fast. We're now 2-0 in this Legacy League. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $15.99. This token combo pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens featuring classic Storm and Mana tokens with new inclusions such as our modern Ruby Storm package, but that's not all. Our token pack covers a variety of formats from Pauper to CDH with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Round number 3, and we're facing my podcast co-host Phil Gallagher over at the Eternal Glory Podcast. Go check that out. We're available on all major podcast platforms. Phil won the die roll, and we have a turn 1 Echo of Aeon, so I'm going to keep this. And that's a turn 1 Echo assuming that the gamble doesn't fail. I mean, I don't know what Phil's playing today, but Phil rarely plays blue decks, so I'm going to try this out. Underground Sea. Okay, so it is a blue deck today, and Ponder. Okay, I'd like an artifact here, so that way I have Metalcraft. Wrong kind of artifact. We'll play Lotus Petal. Let's gamble. I was thinking about passing the turn, knowing that Phil is on a blue deck, but I don't think it's actually getting me any better with this hand. We'll play the Lion's Eye Diamond. Play the Mox Opal. And if he dazes me here, I just lose. Like, it's the hand that I kept. Like, I knew that this hand would be good versus non-blue, but Phil's playing blue today, and that can happen in Legacy. That resolves somehow. Okay, so we'll play... This looks like a spot for Runehorn Hellkite. We'll play the Diamond. We'll play Chrome Mox. Alright, let's cast a few Dark Rituals. And I guess this will also give me some information about what Phil's actually playing today. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. We'll make a red. We'll play Mox Opal. And gamble. We'll grab the Runehorn Hellkite. We'll make a red. And then we'll add 3 more red. And we'll use the Runehorn Hellkite's activated ability. Phil, what are you playing? I'd like to know. Okay. So I have a win here. I need to go Dark Ritual Gamble. But if I win that, we have a win. I'll play Dark Ritual. So this gamble is above 80% to win here. Select the Tendrils of Agony. And we did win it. So now I'll play the Lotus Petal. And Thoughtseize. What? Forced Fruition. What a spell. Okay. Shieldred the Apocalypse. And then we'll play Tendrils of Agony. Okay. That's a wild one. Honestly, I don't think we sideboard. You could bring in Chain of Vapor or Void Snare for the Shieldreds. My personal belief is that we should just focus on being the best combo deck we can. So I'm going to resubmit. Game number 2, we're on the draw. I have a first turn Echo again, but I also have a Thoughtseize. So I like this hand quite a bit. Also, Gaia's Will, always in my hand 100% of the time. Alright, first turn Scalding Tarn. Mox Opal, honestly not a bad draw. Let's play the Thoughtseize. Surgical extraction, consign to memory. We'll take the consign to memory. Pass the turn. So there's a good chance our Lion's Eye Diamonds get exiled with the surgical extraction. Undercity Sewers. Gets rid of a Lorien Revealed. And Phil drew Brainstorm. Plays Polluted Delta, a land we did not know about. We did know about the Bloodstained Mire. And now a Ponder. Okay, so still has Surgical Extraction. Could have found a Force of Will or something else off the Brainstorm or Ponder. Shuffles off the Ponder. Chrome Mox. Ooh, okay. So I have a sweet thing I can do here. I can guarantee the ability to echo without having to get my LED surgicaled. So we'll play out the Petal, play Opal, and I'll want to fetch now to avoid giving them a window of opportunity. We'll grab the Underground Sea, I guess. We'll play out the Chrome Mox and print the Gaia's Will. So this is nice because I don't have to allow Phil to exile my Lion's Eye Diamonds here. We will grab another copy of Echo. Oh no, we discarded an Echo. I can't believe it. And now I will flash back the Echo. And if for some reason Phil has a Force of Will, next turn I'm only 1 mana away from hard casting this one. Surgical Extraction on Gamble. Okay. We're playing this game now without a Gaia's Will, by the way, so don't forget that the Gaia's Will is underneath the Chrome Mox, so any Beseech the Mirror line needs to be Tendrils of Agony or a Song of Creation. And Phil left me with 1 gamble and I drew it. Oh, that's funny. I think I'm going to pass here. I mean, I could try to spin again, but I think I'd rather just play Song and Trigger next turn, so I will pass. Land number 3. Thoughtseize, sure. I guess I can close out these cards because we don't know that they're in Phil's hand anymore. Phil takes the Beseech the Mirror. I think that was the correct choice. Passes the turn. 6 cards in hand. We draw another Opal. I will play the other gamble. Okay. Is it crazy to just grab the Song of Creation? I think that's what I'm going to do here. Discards Petal. I wanted the Petal. Play my land for turn. Fetch. We'll grab the Taiga. And now we'll play Song of Creation. What I liked about getting the song here is that it avoids like a Flusterstorm that was on my mind. So now we'll play the song. And there is Force of Will, apparently. Okay. Pass the turn. End step Bowmasters. Sure. Another Thoughtseize. This probably takes the Entomb. And it does. Now another Ponder. So if I were to draw another Beseech the Mirror, there's really not a ton I can grab with it. Because we don't have Song, we don't have Gaia's Will. Phil plays a land, 2 cards left in hand, Tameo. Thoughtseize. So I could Thoughtseize myself. That's an option here. Dark Ritual, that allows me to hardcast the Echo next turn. Keep the Dark Red on top. So the attack will put me to 11. I think I just pass. Actually, only has 1 land. Alright, maybe we do it now. Alright, keep the new one. I'll Thoughtseize myself. Discard the Echo. Flashback Echo. There's going to be a bunch of Bowmaster triggers here. Okay, so I'm just trying to think through. If I Veil of Summer here, I then only have 4 mana. But 4 mana does get me Protected Beseech the Mirror. So I think I'm supposed to Veil. Phil plays a Force. So if I Veil again, I'm giving up protection, but I would get to draw 2 cards. I think I'm going to Veil of Summer. I need to draw something off these that makes mana. So Veil of Summer's on the stack. I draw Diamond. Okay. So that does give me lethal. My only concern at this point is that I can't beat a Consign to Memory, which we saw at least 2 out of Phil already at this point. The Veil of Summer. Alternatively, I could try to spin again. That's the other option. But do I want to risk giving up a win just to play around Consign to Memory? We'll play out the Diamond. How many? I have a couple Echoes left. Play the Mox. I have 1 Echo left, 1 Runehorn Hellkite left. Trying to think. It's really unfortunate that I don't have the Gaia's Will. Well, I'm not going to use this Beseech. So if I Echo, I'd have 2 open mana. And if I Fizzle, I'm dead on board because their Orc army is just going to be very large. I think I just have to make Phil have it. We'll play the Burning Wish, add 3 black. Phil's pausing in every spell, so maybe there's a consign to memory. But I think this is just like the right move. We'll grab the Tendrils and play it. Does the trigger resolve? Okay, Phil did not have it. We're now 3-0. The best legacy podcast? That would be Eternal Glory featuring myself, Bryant Cook, alongside Brian Cobal and Phil Gallagher. We're available on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. Match number 4, we're on the play. I have no idea what our opponent's playing. They have no Goldfish history, so we're running this one blind. This is a turn 1 Echo of Aeons. The other cards don't really do much. So this is effectively a spin plus an opal and a land. I think I'm going to mulligan this. I can't explain why. It's just I feel like we could probably do better. Maybe I'm wrong. And this hand is also a mulligan. So we'll go to 5. This hand is good. We'll keep. Bottom the Surveil land and Taiga. So this is also just like a turn 1 spin. But I think I'm going to pass the turn and try to see what they're playing. So that way I can make a better educated decision. Because if they're a blue deck, I could gamble for the Runehorn Hellkite. And if they're not a blue deck, next turn I can gamble, assuming that I'm still alive, for an Echo of Aeons. They're thinking pretty hard about this Lion's Eye Diamond, though. Pass the turn. What are you playing? Our opponent plays Underground Sea, taps for a blue. They're taking a long time on every action. They're really deliberate here. Ponder, sure. So I'm guessing this is Dimir Reanimator. And for all we know, this person could be doing a tutoring session right now with somebody. I don't know. I know that in my tutoring sessions, sometimes we take a while to analyze our opening hands, but also initial plays, things like that. So never be rude to your opponent in chat for thinking. Like, they have 25 minutes, respect their time, that sort of thing. Do what I prefer if everyone played quickly. Yeah, if I'm being honest. But if someone needs to take their time, go for it. We'll grab a Raucous Theater and Surveil. Keep the Petal, because we're just trying to gamble here. We'll play the Verdant, play Lotus Petal, fetch with the Verdant. Let's grab Taiga. We'll play the Dark Ritual. I mean, if our opponent has the read to counterspell the gamble, I'd be pretty impressed. They either know what they're doing or are completely oblivious, and there's really no in between. So we'll see if the gamble resolves. All right, and then most people would let this resolve because of Echo, but let's see what this opponent does. They force a will to exiling personal tutor, so they're on Doomsday. Okay, interesting. They play a Misty Rainforest. So one cool thing about Runehorn Hellkite, by the way, is if we draw it, we can actually kill our opponent with a Runehorn Hellkite. If they play Doomsday, the Runehorn Hellkite does not say at sorcery speed. You can use it on your opponent's turn. And that looks like they just have the win here. That's unfortunate. Bummer. Okay. So Dark Ritual Doomsday. The best thing I can hope for is that they mess up and have to pass the turn, and then we somehow draw into it, but I doubt that happens. Okay, so it looks like they're passing the turn here. If I can draw Runehorn Hellkite, they can't even counterspell it. It is just a win. So let's find the Runehorn Hellkite. Mox Opal is not the win. We will pass. They had a win if they were willing to play this on their main phase. They could have built a Lion's Eye Diamond pile, but I guess they didn't want that. Interesting. I mean, I had no cards in my hand. They cycle Street Wraith, and another Street Wraith, and Thassa's Oracle. So that is our first game loss of the league. Unfortunate. And I mean, it all came down to our opponent having the read on Counterspelling Gamble, which I don't think most people would do, but it got us, that's for certain. I don't believe we're supposed to sideboard. We're just going to resubmit. Game number 2, let's try to bounce back, get a win here. This hand doesn't do anything. This hand's essentially a mulligan to 4. And Veil of Summer makes it really a mulligan to 2 because we can't even cast the Veils. Mulligan. So this is a turn 1 Thoughtseize, but then nothing. Ay. I think you're supposed to send this one back. Going to 5. I guess we keep this. I don't love it, but it's something. So here I would bottom the Opal and the Beseech Dimir, I think. Okay. I mean, this hand is not good. And I think you're supposed to grab Underground Sea, because if they go to discard us, like if I Thoughtseize them and I see a bunch of discard, I could imprint the Thoughtseize, allow them to discard me, and then we're pretty close to the Echo. We'll take the Fluster, pass the turn. My best draw by far would be a Lion's Eye Diamond. Not even close. They play Polluted Delta, and pass the turn. Another Chrome Mox. Okay, that was not good. On a mulligan to 5, we need some better draw steps. They grab Undercity Sewers, and they kept the card on top. So you might be saying, why didn't I play out the Thoughtseize last turn? Well, what if, hypothetically, they just hide counter magic on top with Brainstorm? Like, they drew Force of Will for turn, and then I Thoughtseize them, and then they hide that Force of Will on top. It's not a good move. So I'd rather just sit on the Thoughtseize and wait for a window where I can maybe echo the same turn, or if I fear that I'm going to die soon. Or maybe I'll play it next turn, now that they've burned the Brainstorm. They play Underground Sea, and they drew into a Thoughtseize, so I guess that's the punish, but I'd make the same play all over again. You can make the right decision and not have it work out your way. That's entirely possible. They took a Chrome Mox, really? Okay, that seems odd to me. What do I know? Another Echo. Okay, I'm going to imprint an Echo here and then play the Thoughtseize. My hope is that they then play another Thoughtseize and then discard this one. We'll take the Spell Pierce. Ponder, Thoughtseize. So you're saying there's a chance. It's happening. It's happening. Yes! Let's go! Ah, wow. Alright. Echo of Aeons is now in the graveyard. They can play a Ponder looking for like a Daze or a Force of Will or something. And they do. Any mana allows me to Echo, but a Dark Ritual would allow me to beat Daze. They did not shuffle on the Ponder. Lion's Eye Diamond would give me 2 open mana. Song of Creation was not the draw step I wanted. Okay, unfortunate. They play the Thoughtseize. They still have 1 Ponder left in their hand. Okay, they drew Force of Will. They didn't play the other Ponder. We will pass. So they must have pondered into a Force of Will last turn. And now they're passing again, 4 cards in hand. We'll play the Underground Mortuary. Get rid of the Burning Wish. It doesn't help me here. I don't even have red mana. They now play a Ponder. If I draw a red source plus a Lion's Eye Diamond over the next few turns and the gamble resolves, so it's a lot of what ifs. But if all of these things were to happen, we could just set up a Runehorn Hellkite that they can't counterspell, and then it's really tough for them to win. But being on a mulligan to 5, we were just really far behind this whole game. They play a Personal Tutor, so this will go grab them the Doomsday. I'm running out of time now. 4 cards in hand, Doomsday on top of their deck. We draw the Taiga. So I can Echo here, make them use the Force of Will. Force of Negation exiles Consider. So they still have the Ponder in hand. I will play Gamble. Another... They had triple Force, so Doomsday's their top card. And they can't cast it. Okay. I mean, this has been a game for me mulliganing to 5 and them having a lot of interaction. I can Burning Wish for Thoughtseize and take the Doomsday. We'll play Burning Wish. So I could grab like a Beseech the Mirror, but I don't have triple black. So that's a problem. So I do think it's just supposed to be the Thoughtseize and try to prolong this game a little bit. Take the Doomsday. Pass the turn. They have 1 card in hand. I guess I'm suspending Gaia's Will. Will this game go 5 more turns? Who knows? 2 blue mana for a Thassa's Oracle. Okay. And they did put a card on top. Gaia's Will lose a suspend counter. Gamble. So I can go grab an Echo here. Or I could grab the dragon, but we don't have the mana for the dragon is my fear. I could Echo, but I'd be like realistically against like the million force deck, I'd be passing the turn with them having a bunch of interaction. Or just like Dark Ritual kill you. We'll play the Gamble. So the question is it dragon or is it Echo? We have 1 Echo left. I have 4 Dark Rituals, 4 diamonds, so there's 8 hits that turn on the dragon. I think it's supposed to be Runehorn Hellkite. We'll pass. I don't like showing them the dragon for game 3, though, if we somehow manage to win this one. Turn 10 in the Epic Storm versus Doomsday matchup. We're both at 13. I'm about to be at 12. Guys will. Should have 2 counters left after this one. Mox Opal. So now we're a Lotus Petal away from having the dragon online. Pass the turn. Looks like they're attacking again. I'll go to 11 here. They have 3 cards in hand. Guys will down to its final suspend counter. Veil of Summer. So that could protect the Guys will next turn. They play a Thoughtseize. I will Veil. We draw another Opal. That doesn't help me. I needed another mana that wasn't Mox Opal. Like I needed a Lotus Petal or something. And now I can't protect the Guys will either. So they'll attack me with the Oracle. They have 3 cards in their hand. So, like, it's not unreasonable for them to have a counterspell for this Guys will. Alright. 5 turns happened. We did Guys will the hard way. We will cast Guys will. And it resolved. Okay. We drew Chrome Mox. We'll play Bloodstained Mire. We have 1 more untapped land in the deck. We'll grab the Badlands. And I think I would like to Thoughtseize to know what I'm facing here. Because I think I'd like to play Song of Creation. And they have nothing. Okay. So now we'll play the Song. And now they know about the Dragon for game 3, which is a bummer. So we'll play Chrome Mox from the graveyard, trigger the Song. Okay. Friendly reminder, Guys will happen this turn, so Entomb and Gamble do not work. Alright, so now we're off to game 3. They know about the Runehorn Hellkite. I mean, Bacca is up against a wall on the draw versus the Force of Negation, Force of Will, Thoughtseize, Daze, you know, Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm deck, but we made it happen there. Is this crazy? I'm 1 mana away from a turn 1 Tendrils if they go Dark Ritual Doomsday. Against Better Judgment, I'm going to keep. Polluted Delta. Chrome Mox. I drew the mana I wanted. We will pass. They grab Undercity Sewers. And they surveil away a Personal Tutor. So that says they already have Doomsday. That is terrifying. Polluted Delta. And now they're fetching. Or they have a Personal Tutor. Okay. Doomsday on top. We'll fetch. So my hope is that they have like land Doomsday Pass with like forces in hand, and then we're able to cobble together a win. I'll grab the Raucous Theater. We don't need Beseech the Mirror. Bloodstained Mire. Pass. The whole game plan here is based around them passing with Doomsday. If they don't pass, we can't win. It never matters. But we'll see. And you might be saying, well, you could play out Double Diamond and then try to surveil into the Runehorn Hellkite. Yeah, you could. But then you're losing Storm Count, and I don't really want to risk that. And like the diamonds might be good bait for Force of Will too. So I'm keeping that in mind. Dark Ritual. I don't love that because there's a good chance that I'm dead now. Okay, I needed land 3 into Doomsday. That said, game 1, they passed with a Brainstorm in hand, so maybe they do that again here. Alright, they've exiled a bunch of cards to Doomsday. Notably, there's not a Lion's Eye Diamond here, so they either sideboard it out or it's in the pile. I see 1 Street Wraith, 1 Edge of Autumn. A lot of Doomsday players board out Lion's Eye Diamond in these matchups. I don't know if this Doomsday player did. And it looks like they're going to pass, so we get a window of opportunity here by the looks of it. There's 1 Flusterstorm. That's good to see. We'll grab the Underground Mortuary. Entomb. That's actually insane. If the Entomb resolves, I can deck them with the dragon. So we'll begin by playing Chrome Mox. Oh man, if I get to deck somebody with Runehorn Hellkite, that would make my life. We'll play a Lion's Eye Diamond. We need one of these 2 diamonds to resolve. They're going after the diamonds. That's not good. They Force of Will, exiling Force of Negation. We'll play the other one. I need this to resolve. 2 cards in hand. That one resolves, okay. So we'll play Opal. We'll tap it for a black. We'll play it in Opal. So I can Entomb for Dragon here, or I can play Tendrils. Tendrils loses to a Flusterstorm, where the Entomb for Dragon doesn't. So Entomb is actually the better play here. And they have Fluster. Did we just win this match? Wow. So the Runehorn Hellkite, because we showed it to them, I think actually won us. I I mean, having access to the Runehorn Hellkite, I should say, wins this match. Where normally we lose against Doomsday here. But they have one card in hand. It'd have to be like exactly Mindbreak Trap. Okay, we'll show them Tendrils of Agony. Wow. Target you. Did we just win? The Phantom Runehorn Hellkite coming up clutch. I love that. All right, we're now 4-0 in this Legacy League, about to play for a trophy. Brainstorm be gone, Entomb is the way. I'll see you in match number 5. The Gold Sabertooth times the Epic Storm collection has arrived with 3 full-size tokens showcasing the beloved Dark Ritual, CDH Rogsai, and Legacy of the Epic Storm for just $5. On the backs of these tokens, there's a place for my signature or a custom message. In addition to these sweet tokens, a friendly reminder that all orders that ship from theepicstorm.com also come with a signed Storm token from yours truly. For the trophy, match number 5, we're on the play. I have no clue what the opponent's playing, and I think this is a keep. So we could imprint the Echo, Entomb, but this is like a turn 3 with protection. I think that's probably fine. It could be a turn 2 if I draw another artifact. That isn't Mox Opal, I should clarify. Badlands into Thoughtseize. And they're on Stiflemont. We will take Force of Will. Pass the turn. Polluted Delta. And they're choosing to not ponder. That's interesting. I think we'll just pass the turn. They grab a Meticulous Archive. Blooded Strand. Okay. And now they play the ponder. Maybe they just wanted to Surveil on the first turn. An interesting note is the Torpor Orb builds usually don't play actual factual Stifle. So I could try to save the Entomb to grab a Runehorn Hellkite after I make some more mana. And then it would the draw 7 would be uncounterable. We'll grab Raucous Theater. Get rid of the Opal. Maybe I was supposed to grab the other Surveil in there, I'm not sure. Beseech Dimir. I mean, I could just try to jam a song right now. They did not shuffle on the Ponder. I could also hardcast Beseech. That's another possibility. I kind of don't hate it. We'll fetch with the Verdant. I'd have to grab the Underground Sea. Maybe I'll just play this a little slower. We'll grab the Mortuary. Another Opal, geez. Pass the turn. So I don't like grabbing the... Maybe this is just me being picky. I didn't like the idea of grabbing the Underground Sea, because then I'm cut off green mana. They're fetching with the Flooded Strand or Tundra. Okay, so they could play stock up here. Torpor Orb. So do you have a Dreadnought? No Dreadnought. Okay. Burning Wish. Play the Chrome Mox, and I think I'd rather keep the Echo than the Burning Wish. Maybe that's wrong. We'll imprint the Echo. Play Beseech without the bargain. Just good old Diabolic Tutor. Spell Pierce. Okay. Pass the turn. They now play the stock up. I no longer know any of the cards in their hand. They have 5 cards, no land drop here. Oh no, there it is. Okay. And there's the diamond I wanted. So we'll play diamond. Play the Opal. Burning Wish. So I could try to just spin right now. Part of me wants to get the Thoughtseize and Thoughtseize them for information to make sure they don't have a Stifle. Thoughtseize. I mean, most lists with the Torpor Orbs don't have Stifles, but I'd just like to make sure. They Brainstorm in response. Okay. I mean, and if they hide counter magic here, I could always Entomb for Echo and then spin and save the Runehorn Hellkite for later. Thoughtseize on the stack, they have 4 cards. Force of Will exiles Dress Down. I'm going to Entomb on their end step, I think. Because I don't want to show them the dragon and then have them play out their entire hand. They ponder. They shuffled on the ponder. Stock up. Okay. I could have played the Entomb in response. Obviously I didn't. Phyrexian Dreadnought. Okay. And step play the Entomb. If their last 2 cards are a forced blue card, like it's a little weird to go after the Entomb here, but they could. And they let it go. So I will grab the Runehorn Hellkite just because they can't counter it. I'm at 16 and we draw another diamond. Well, I guess I'll play the diamond. Like, if they have force, they have force. And that diamond resolved. Wow. Okay, so we'll add red, black, black. So their last 2 in hand were not Force of Will plus blue card. Or else they would have countered the diamond, I think. We have 5 open mana. It was Brazen Bar or Swords. So I can double Beseech the Mirror here. We'll play Diamond, play Dark Ritual, play our land, Chrome Mox. Storm is 4. No Imprint. Beseech the Mirror with Bargain, sacrifice Chrome Mox, Storm is 5. That resolved. I would like to select Guy as well. Storm 6. There's 2 Force of Wills in their graveyard, and that just resolved. Okay. We'll play a Thoughtseize. Okay, we're 1 game away. 1 game away from greatness. Bring in the Beseiju. I think that's going to be it. We'll get rid of 1 Mox Opal. Hit submit. Game number 2, our opponent has kept 7. So this hand is pretty close to Entomb into Echo, but I need to draw another mana source in order to do so. Triple Entomb is a little odd. I also don't love the Opal. I think I'm actually going to mulligan this. It's really close, but I think I can do better. And this hand is better, so we'll get rid of the Taiga. Okay. Blooded Strand. What I love about this is we have 2 opportunities to go grab the Runehorn Hellkite, assuming that the Lion's Eye Diamonds resolve. Well, that's something. Okay, I do have 1 Beseiju in my deck that we can find off a gamble. Or I guess I could naturally draw it. Play Diamond. Pass the turn. I guess, technically, I could try to resolve the Runehorn Hellkite through Deafening Silence because it is uncounterable, and that draws me closer to the Beseiju. And now they play a Ponder. Deafening Silence. What a choice. End step I will fetch. And I'm going to grab the Underground Mortuary here in case I do find that Beseiju. I think I'm actually going to keep the Taiga. My fear is that they wasteland me off green, which might be irrational, but that's what I'm thinking. We'll play the other Bloodstained Mire, play Lion's Eye Diamond, and pass the turn. It looks like they're going to just pass, so I'm going to just pass. I don't want to play the Entomb and have it get countered, so I'm going to wait until they cast the spell and then I can Entomb. Keep the Dark Ritual because it gives me something to imprint onto this Chrome Mox. Play out the Taiga. We'll play Chrome Mox, and then imprint the Dark Ritual. Pass the turn. Man, the Runehorn Hellkite looking very good. What is this? Is this that, oh no, it's a dress down, okay. I cannot respond with Entomb here, because I've already played the Chrome Mox for turn. So they could play a Phyrexian Dreadnought now, and they do. So now I'm incentivized to Entomb. Play the Entomb, and then they let it go. I'll grab the Hellkite. Okay, deck, I need you to be good. We will use the Hellkite. I'm going to keep a diamond. I could keep my 3 lands untapped in case I drew the Beseiju off the 7. And I did not draw the Beseiju, but I did draw Gamble. Okay. Burning Wish. Let's try Gamble. I really want this to resolve. Alright, and it does. Grab the Beseiju. No! No! We had 8 cards in hand. Are you kidding me? Ah, oh, what a bummer. I think our game just ended. Okay. So I still have Burning Wish for Void Snare, but that's never going to resolve. Sometimes the luck is not in your favor. Even seeing the Deafening Silence, I'm going to just resubmit. I believe in our current configuration. Sometimes you lose. It happens, but that's a bummer. All right, game number 3, the final game of this Legacy League for the trophy. So this is a turn 1 Beseech into Gaia's Will, but that doesn't do anything. I think I'm going to mulligan. Like, this hand just doesn't do anything. This one does. Get rid of Gaia's Will. Play the Bloodstained Mire, play the Diamond. Pass the turn. So this gets the Dragon, and then they could counterspell Dark Ritual if they have a counter. I mean, I could have just jammed turn 1 Echo with 2 floating, but I just, like, lose the 5-0 to a Force of Will. And this gives me a little bit more play. They grab a Tundra. No. No! Ah, brutal. Yep. I wonder how many of these they're playing. I figured it was like a one of. We will grab the Raucous Theater. So I do have Burning Wish in my hand for Void Snare. I just don't expect it to resolve. Okay. We'll play the Verdant Catacombs. Grab the Underground Sea. Play Burning Wish. Grab Void Snare. Pass. They have a Polluted Delta. Graph Digger's Cage. That hurts. I think Stifle Knot might have got me. Technically, the Runehorn Hellkite gets through Grafdigger's Cage. Wow. Because you're not casting a spell. Wow, that's really cool. Gamble. So we could gamble here for the Beseiju. And then just have to draw into a green source. Grab the Beseiju. Discards Entomb. Okay, so you're saying there's a chance. I would have preferred to discard the Echo or Dark Ritual, but not the end of the world. They surveil away a Torpor Orb. There's a Saga. Clarion Conqueror. Okay, they have a lot of hate in their deck. I'm probably not going to win this one. Ah, bummer. We lost the 5-0. Yeah, I'm not gonna... Yeah, I'm gonna call it. We did not get this. Okay, well, we came pretty close. If game 2, the Beseiju went a little differently, who knows? But we were an unfortunate gamble away from a trophy. I really, really like this deck list, and I love the Runehorn Hellkite. I don't have any changes I'd make right now. I do think one thing you could try, and I don't know what the cut would even be, but you could try 2 copies of the Runehorn Hellkite because it's so good against decks like Doomsday, Cephalid Breakfast, and Oops All spells that decks like the Epic Storm traditionally struggle against. So I think that's pretty interesting, but I don't know what you'd want to cut. I like having 7 protection. I like the 8 Entombs. I like 4 Burning Wish, 3 Beseech, 3 Echo. I guess, technically, okay, if I had to pick one card in the deck that you could cut, I would cut the 4th Mox Opal, but I cut a land. Like, we're playing 11 lands. It's something I did not mention in the deck tech. Traditionally, the Epic Storm plays 12. So I've already cut a land because we're a Turbo Echo deck now. So by cutting an Opal, you're now saying, okay, I'm fine going down 2 mana sources. And I think that starts to get a little weird. So I personally, I wouldn't change anything, but if you want to, the second Runehorn Hellkite is pretty interesting. But that's all I've got for today. I can't believe Runehorn Hellkite works through Grafdigger's Cage. That's so cool. I really like that. So, thanks for watching. I think Runehorn Hellkite's the real deal. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, keep storming. Hey, Bryant Cook. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. There's no better way to support our channel. If you're interested in elevating your combo game, visit theepicstorm.com/tutoring for details about our coaching sessions. Don't worry, there's more great combo content coming right up.